Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Learn a Move from Pro. In this week, we'll be looking at the fourth game of Nongxing Cup of this year. And the two players, the player with the black stones is Yang Dingxing, and the player with the white stones is Kim Jae-seok. Um, so let me just briefly introduce both players. So Yang Dingxing is a very, very good professional Chinese 9P Go player, and his style is very stable, very solid, and extremely good at end games. So he likes to make his groups really thick and wait for opportunities and wait for opponents' mistakes and he has a very monstrous end game. So that's Yang Dingxing's style. Uh, Kim Jae-seok is also a 9P professional, but he's from Korea, and I like Kim Jae-seok quite a lot because his style is very aggressive, and he is definitely super good at reading complex variations, and he's a very fierce fighter, and his games are definitely fun to watch. So let's get started. Let's see what move we can learn from one of these players in this game that they played. Yang Dingxing starts with star point. Kim Jae-seok Kim Ji-seok responds with the cross star, and then the game everybody plays star points, and this is quite a popular game right now, especially in the AI era. Yang Dingxing approaches, very normal. And now we have a very normal 3-3 invasion, followed by the very nice B14 move. Very normal. Kim Ji-seok decides to approach. Yang Dingxing responds in the same way, and then now we have another super popular AI, Joseki. Really, we see this sort of vocal variation all the time, so quite ordinary. And now Yang Dingxing plays with a very excellent R6 move. This R6 is excellent because basically it's playing a move towards the wide side. So as we can see, this side is definitely having more development potential than this side, since black has all these stones forming a wall over here. So playing a move towards the side you want to develop on is definitely slightly better than playing a move that is pointing towards a side that you don't have much interest on. So excellent choice by Yang Dingxing. Now, the next move is definitely a very nice move by white. So this move not only expands white's area, but also reduces black's area over here. So black's moil is significantly reduced, and white's moil is significantly expanded at the same time. So this move is definitely an excellent move that does two things at the same time. So excellent move that you should play. You should definitely play like this in your game. That is to observe these kind of moves that sort of expand yourself and reduce your opponent's moyo. This is not today's topic, but I find M15 to be an excellent move that you can play if this kind of setting arises. So as I said, not the move we're gonna learn today, but I'm gonna just briefly mention it. So Yang Dingxing plays a very patient, solid, and excellent move at c13. So the reason for black to play c13 here, it looks really slow. But if you actually go back and check my first video on learning a move from pro, you will find the answer to why black plays the c13 move. So definitely go back, and I believe it's the game between Ke Jie and Zhou Ruiyang for the first video in the series. That you will understand why c13 move is a huge move to play in this circumstance. Next, Kim Jae-seok sort of put an attack on f3 stone, and here comes the move for our week. The move we can learn from this game. But before we actually show the game, I will just mention that if you just attach a d3 to try to settle the f3 stone, this is also definitely a doable thing. This is definitely an okay idea for black to settle his stone, right? To just go into the corner and hopefully make a base, and this will be fine for black as well. But today I am going to present you with a better alternative. So better when it comes to AI analysis, AI actually think this move would be slightly better, which is what Yang Dingxin played in his game, that is to attach a d5. Especially when you have a setting like this, when white has 3 stones attacking your 1 stone over here, with this setting, attaching a d5 could always be an excellent choice that you can play in your game. So I encourage you to play this move in your game, but I need to show you the follow-ups, right? Otherwise, you just play it and your opponent just destroy you locally. That won't be awesome. So let's look at some of white's responses and see how we can act accordingly. So let's assume that white blocks, which is a good, which is just natural instinct we have. Here black can follow up with the squeeze. So white can extend, but what if white wants to protect corner? So if white protects corner, we can make a comfortable Atari as black. White is forced to connect, and now black can initiate counterattacks. Notice that black's shape is extremely flexible, right? A shape like this is very, very flexible when it comes to defending itself. Later on, black can hunt into the corner and start a ko over here, or he can just extend down and increase his ice space, and this will be an extremely solid group on the board. So this is actually very good for black. White won't be doing too well with this variation because all his stones are concentrated on the third line and it's not making as much territory, and black easily settles himself, so this is not a great variation for white. Which is why sometimes white would extend and try to counterattack. Now black will extend into the corner, and white now make uses of the cutting points of black. But turns out that regardless which side you cut as white, the result won't be excellent for you. So let's say white cuts on the outside, black can just take the stone, and now white can ladder black, and then this stone I can't run anymore because it's laddered. Sometimes it's laddered, sometimes it's not. Even if it's laddered, it's not a big deal for black, and the reason is that this J3 stone is placed in an awkward situation that sort of over concentrates white's position. So, and later on, black can have a move outside to threaten to run out the stone. So white probably has to defend this run out, and then black can use this stone to gain him momentum elsewhere on the board. So this is definitely a great outcome, just because how white's J3 stone is not well placed, and black gets a comfortable corner as well as a sente outside. So this is not very satisfactory for white at all. If white cuts from the outside, black can capture the stone from the outside. White obviously follow up by killing black's corner, but there's nothing to worry about because black's extending at f4 is a sente. Now white has to come back and fix the weakness, and black can initiate counterattack with the help of his super thick group over here. So this is also excellent for black. So as it turns out that if you just extend at e4, black can comfortably go into your corner in c3, and there's really not a good follow-up for white in this situation. So turns out that our intuition cannot really you could play c5 for it, like just based on your intuition, but turns out to be not the best choice. Here white has other two choices, so he can extend by playing c4, and actually this is an excellent move recommended by AI. You might look at it and be like really confused, like isn't these exchanges really bad for white? Yes, it's bad for the outside because black has a stone towards the outside and white has a stone towards inside. But as it turns out that the c4 stone is extremely useful for protecting his corner. So now, as you can see, the difference is that without these two stones, black had the possibility to directly come into c3. But now, after the exchange, there's no more c3 for black. So white's corner is harder to invade. So black's d5 stone looks very good, but in fact it comes at a cost. That is making white's corner more solid. So black usually follows up by protecting his weakness at e4, and white. This is crucial for white. White need to equalize by tenuki, so he should play a two-space extension, which is huge towards elsewhere on the board. And now black keeps playing here. Keeps playing from here basically, and this is an equal game. And if black ever thinks that white has some sort of problem by testing it out, white can defend himself with this accurate sequence. So white is threatening these two stones as well as the run out over here. So this is a very bad fight for black, that black should not enter in this situation. So the push and cut won't work for white. So white does not really have a weakness right now. So he's just gonna hold his position over here and take a very big move outside, and then black and the game is pretty much equal starting from this moment. So this is a very correct response for white in this situation. As black, you shouldn't be too worried because look at your group. Your group got a lot stronger, and now you can comfortably escape towards this side, and later on come back and hopefully get yourself some territory elsewhere. So black is also just doing as well. a correct or an accurate continuation by both sides would be this would be one of them. So what about the third choice? The third choice is more interesting, exciting, which is for white to counterattack at e5. So black correct response is to play d3. Notice here, if you cut at e4, you will actually fall into a trap because now white can just extend himself towards the corner, and there's no good follow-up to deal with both groups as black. So you should definitely not cut here as black. The correct move for you to play is to play the d3 clamp move. And now white is pretty much forced to play the c3. In one of my games, my opponent, who is a high dan player, he actually wedged here, which turned out to be not so great because black can just comfortably played this variation, and when white basically white's shape is very heavy. I'm not gonna go spend too much time going to the continuation after, but my conclusion is that this wedge is the incorrect follow-up that will be punished if black plays accurately after. So white's correct response is to defend himself at c3. And now, if you're not so much of a fighter and you really like territory, a very simple way for you to settle as black is to actually Atari in the corner. White is forced to connect, and black follows up with Atari on the second line. White will extend himself, and black connects on the third line. White has to prevent this push out, so he blocks. And now black can crawl at b2 to try to capture white's 2 stones. So now, if white, usually the correct response for white is to Atari here first. Black is forced to connect, and white ends the variation by playing the e3 move. And now the variation ends. Black can go ahead and play somewhere else. Let's say he plays somewhere else. And black is not too worried because as you can see, the b6 and the d2 moves in a Miyai situation, and black's corner is totally alive. So black can definitely go ahead and tanuki and play somewhere else. And this is just a fine outcome for both sides. White definitely got a lot of influence over here as well. So white has the compensation. Black got an easy settlement in the corner. So very equal position for both sides. So that's the easy way. What is the hard way? Well, the hard way is for you to play the tiger's mouth Atari. If you're a fighter and you like to read a lot, you like to finish your opponent off in a tough fight, this is definitely the variation for you. White is forced to connect over here, and now black can drag his stone out at d6, which is really aggressive. White now has 2 choices. The first one is to extend his f5 stone, his e5 stone at f5. Now this is just a very chaotic situation for both sides. So I will just show you the correct continuation with not much explanation. If you're a fighter, this is the variation for you as black. So to play correctly, black is going to turn down at a c5. White Ataris, and black make a Kima to get himself out. White will sort of follow up. Black needs to get himself out, and white plays a very annoying turn to destroy black's shape. Black sort of make a shape at f4. And now this wedge is not going to work because black can capture these two stones, and of course white won't do that. White will jump himself out, and black ends with the d7 push out. So this is the accurate continuation suggested by the professional. So you can absolutely rely on this variation. So what is happening right now is white's three stone are just trailing there. Black has a weak group over here. Black gained definitely some profits over here. White's corner is settled, and white has these three stones that can later on be a target of attack. So complete chaos going forward. And if you are a fighter, once again, this is the variation for you. So totally playable for both sides, but you really need muscles, right? You really need some jack muscles to keep going with this game, because if you're not good at fighting, you might lose very quickly, because this is a really tough fight for both sides. Very, very interesting. But that's not what the two players have played. So let's look at what they have actually played in the game. So Kim actually decides to protect the corner, and that is just expected. And now, when Yang Dingxin pulls out the stone, Kim decided to play the more solid c5 connection. Black placed f5, and then white obviously has to drag his stone out. Yang Dingxin drags his stone at d7, and now I think what white should have done is probably turn here and then jump to try to cap black's three stones. This is the variation recommended by the professionals who are commenting on this game. Instead, Kim did not choose that. Kim decides to keep pushing to create a more chaotic and more fierce situation. Black really had no choice. He has to save his stones. And then white just kept pushing. And now white peeps. Black is forced to connect. So white played many forcing moves, and there's really no room for black to make mistake. And now white ends with the h6, which is a nice move to sort of enclose black stones. And then Yang Dingxin is obviously not scared at all, because his shape is actually very flexible. So he decided to actually create some weakness at white's outside, and white follows up with another push. So if white decides to actually go for this fight, he will be falling into a trap, because black's purpose is not really to fight here. What he wants is to honey into the corner. When white Ataris, he will make this ko, and then he will use this area for his ko threat, and this is definitely a warehouse of ko threats that white has to deal with. And white is gonna probably lose the ko, but if he loses the ko, his corner is also gonna be in danger. So this is what Kim has seen. So he decided to not fall into trap and keep pushing. And then Yang Dingxin follows up with a honey and extension. From now on, both professionals are reading very accurately and are playing very strategically. But as it turns out, that after the entire sequence, white is really having a hard time in this local area, right? So black's job is to treat his group over here. So if black managed to live easily, white's investment is totally not getting any return, because you might be wondering what investment am I talking about? Well, it's all these pushes that White has done. Uh, the exchanges between the fifth line and the fourth line that allowed Black to have a lot of potential for territory over here. So the game starts to get a bit difficult for White from this point on, but definitely a playable game moving forward. Um, so this is the outcome of the game, and the move that we learned today that has a lot of variations behind it is this attachment move that is definitely an excellent move that you can try out in your games. I've showed pretty much all the variations that can come after. Use that in your game, and if you see more different variations, comment below the video. If you have any questions about this variation, about this attachment move, you can ask me below the video, and I will answer to my best ability. So definitely an excellent attachment move that we can use in our future games. I've definitely learned a lot from this move, and I hope you did as well. So I will talk to you guys next week.